I'm sure that many of us know about the story of David and Goliath in the Bible. However, we are going to look at it in a different light. How do we apply this story in our lives, and what deep meanings can we unravel to help us succeed in life? This is our David series. Enjoy. The story of David and Goliath begins in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 17. It is the story of a standoff between the people of Israel and their enemies, the Philistines. They set up camp on opposite sides, and it was decided that instead of a full-scale battle, a duel to the death between two of the greatest warriors, one from Israel and the other from the Philistine army, would determine the victor. The winner would claim victory for their nation, and the losing nation would become servants to the victor. This sounded like a marvelous idea, but it was not to the Israelites' advantage. You see, in the enemy camp, there was a giant named Goliath. He stood about 9 feet tall. He was a very experienced warrior. Israel didn't have anyone who could go toe-to-toe with him. Goliath taunted the Israelites day and night for 40 days, calling on their finest warrior to fight him. But no one dared to come out. They were all afraid. I mean, who could blame them, right? Who wants to go out there and get himself killed? This is where we make our first observation. I want to draw your attention to the warrior Goliath. Goliath represents a scary and seemingly insurmountable challenge that taunts us day and night, making us feel our inadequacies and incapabilities to solve the problem. It speaks through negative thoughts and assumptions. The voice you hear inside your head telling you can't succeed, you can't solve this problem, you can't pay your bills, and you will soon be evicted. That voice tries to convince you that you are incapable. That's Goliath speaking. And it can go on ranting day and night. It keeps you worried during the day and sleepless at night. As long as you listen to it, it continues to taunt you. Goliath continued to taunt the Israelites until a young boy from the family of Jesse came by to run an errand for his father. The name of this young lad was David. He happened to be present when the arrogant giant was spewing prideful and mocking words at the Israelites. David was so angry with the giant and his words. He had had enough and decided to do something about it. He made inquiries about the situation and volunteered to fight the giant warrior. They tried to dress him up in armor and other things required for war, but they weren't adequate for him. Everything was too heavy and he could barely move, so it was all taken off him. To fight the problems and intimidating challenges of life, we must learn never to depend on the arm of flesh, because it will fail and disappoint. It's not about connections, it's not about skills, it's not about intelligence. Instead, it is about one special thing: faith. When you have that, everything else seems unnecessary. All David took were 5 smooth stones and his sling. That was enough. When Goliath saw David approaching him with just a sling, he responded, "Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks? Come here, and I will feed your flesh to the birds." Now pay attention to what happened next. David didn't keep quiet about this threat. He responded, "You come against me with a sword and spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty. Today the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I will strike you down and cut off your head. This very day I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel." This was David's reply. Our words are powerful. Whenever we hear those negative words in our heads trying to scare us, if we remain silent, those words will cripple us and eventually come to pass. But if we respond to them like David did, in the name of the Lord, they lose their strength. We all know how this story ends. David killed Goliath just as he said he would. The great intimidating warrior was down, his head was cut off, and Israel had victory. The story of David and Goliath doesn't just tell us about a young boy who killed a giant. It teaches us that it is not about the size of the problem we are facing or how small we may seem, but rather it is about the size of our God. We don't remain quiet when problems and challenges taunt us. Instead, we respond to that voice in the name of Jesus. The more we speak, the weaker the challenges become, and we achieve victory.